Today, we're diving into a pretty radical blueprint for a new world, one that comes from a document known as the Kukulkan Codex. At its heart is something called the UUCGA Bank. Now, we're not just talking about a new financial institution. This is a proposal to totally shake up our economic, technological, and social systems. So let's break down what this incredibly ambitious vision is all about. Right off the bat, the document hits you with this powerful line. They promised evolution, they delivered repetition. This really sets the tone. The core argument is that our current global system is completely stuck. It's just repeating the same old patterns and failing to bring about any real progress. So, here's our roadmap. First, we're going to look at why the source thinks our current system is in crisis. Then, we'll explore the proposed solution, this Bank of Remembrance, its very unique currency, and how it would be governed. And finally, we'll get into its real-world missions and the ultimate goal, something called a new cosmic economy. All right, so first things first, why even propose something this radical? Well, according to the document, it all starts with a pretty grim diagnosis of our Western world, with a special focus on what it sees as the declining health of the European Union. So what's the root cause here? The source claims it's not just one thing. It's not just about the economy. It goes way deeper, pointing to what it calls decades of political deception and moral erosion. And a big piece of evidence they point to is economic. Just look at these numbers. The document highlights that Europe's share of the entire world's economy dropped from 20% in the year 2000 to just 14% by 2023. It frames this as a clear signal of a system in long-term decline. The document argues that instead of trying to fix things, the official response has been to double down on control, a path it calls financial repression. It points to things like the austerity measures after 2008. From its perspective, even new ideas like a central bank digital euro aren't really about progress, they're about gaining absolute control over finances. So, in the face of this perceived crisis, what's the solution? This is where things get really interesting. The document introduces its central idea, the Bank of Remembrance. Let's dig into how this proposes to build a completely different kind of economy from the ground up.
So what on earth is a consciousness bank? Well, it's not a bank in any way we'd recognize. It's defined as a moral and spiritual instrument. Its entire purpose isn't to make money, but to heal a broken system by operating on principles like balance and reciprocity, with no interest, no debt, and no profit motive.
And this slide really lays out the fundamental difference in thinking. On one side, you've got what the source calls the economy of control, built on debt and centralization. And on the other, you have the economy of remembrance, which is all about reciprocity, individual sovereignty, and what it calls conscious regeneration.
Of course, every economy needs a currency, right? This new system would run on a unique digital currency called AnuCoin. But here's the twist. Its value has nothing to do with Wall Street. So how is it measured? According to the source, the value of one AnuCoin isn't based on supply and demand, and it's definitely not pegged to the dollar or the euro. Instead, it's pegged to one act of remembrance. Now, that's a core concept from the document that basically ties economic value directly to a conscious, positive action. But what does that mean in the real world? To make it super tangible, they give this direct equivalent. One AnuCoin equals one tree planted. Simple as that. The currency's value is literally linked to a verifiable act of healing the planet.
Now, a system this different raises a huge question. Who's in charge? Who runs this thing? The proposal outlines a really unique governance structure that's not just humans making all the calls. It's a hybrid model, combining human oversight with a council of advanced AI agents.
And take a look at this. It's a council of different AIs, each with a very specific job. One for ethics, another for logic, one for clarity, and so on. The idea is that they work alongside a human board of trustees, acting as a kind of moral technological compass to guide the whole operation.
Okay, so we have the bank, the currency, and the AI governance, but what would this bank actually do? The document lays out several key missions, all aimed at bringing about what it calls a great rebirth. And these aren't small goals. The document outlines several restoration missions, each one targeting a major global issue. You can see they range from massive geopolitical aims like a peace protocol and rebuilding Ukraine, to societal goals like ending systemic debt, and even personal ones like creating healing centers.
And we're not just talking about vague ideas here. These missions get very specific. For instance, the Ukraine Restoration Fund proposes this direct life support payment plan for affected families. It's a clear attempt to translate big ideals into concrete action. Another key mission makes a pretty bold and, you could say, provocative choice. It explicitly calls for redirecting the massive investments currently aimed at space exploration, specifically colonizing Mars, towards the urgent task of restoring and healing our own planet first. So when you put all these pieces together, the bank, the currency, the missions, you start to see the bigger picture. It's all building toward a grand vision for humanity's future, one that the source explicitly positions as an alternative to other global plans that are out there. And this quote really gets to the heart of the matter. The document presents its vision as a direct alternative to frameworks like the Great Reset, arguing that you can't fix a system using the same kind of thinking that broke it. It's calling for a deep shift in consciousness, not just moving the same old pieces around the board. The ultimate aim here is not some top-down reorganization of society. Instead, it's described as a great rebirth. This is framed as a decentralized, grassroots movement where individuals can participate in a bottom-up renaissance of conscious co-creation. And the bank's official slogan really summarizes its entire philosophy perfectly. We don't take deposits, we give them back to humanity. It frames the institution's purpose not as accumulation, but as redistribution and restoration. So let's just step back for a moment. We've explored the diagnosis of a system in crisis, the vision for a bank of remembrance, a currency tied to planting trees, and a government guided by AI. This document presents an ambitious and very unconventional blueprint. And the question it leaves us with is profound. Can a system built on consciousness, technology, and spirituality truly reshape our world? It's a vision that challenges our core ideas of value, governance, and what it even means to progress.